So today I'm changing spark plug on a 2010 Chevy Traverse. Okay, so I'm gonna go over the step with you to show you the simplest way to do that, which you have to remove the intake. It's gonna be simpler. So the step of doing that, the first step what I did, I disconnect the wires. Okay, you disconnect the wire, just move them over. They need the clearance there. Okay. There's a 10 bolt that this one is bolted onto the intake there, and just move it over. Okay. Then you have two choices because I'm changing the air filter, so that's why I removed the air filter housing. If not, I was gonna take out the hose from here and from here, so because you need to remove that. Then you have to vacuum here. Okay, and then you have a next vacuum here that goes to the engine so the engine can breathe. And we burn the gas again. It's like a vent system that goes through from the engine that go back here and burn back the fumes from the oil there. Okay, the combustion chamber. So you remove the intake. You remove the housing for the air cleaner because I'm changing the air filter, so that's why I do that, which is dirty. You can see that. That's the oil filter. And this is the new filter. So I'm gonna just go explain the situation with a filter like this. A filter like this, your car is gonna drink a lot of more gas. The car gonna burn more gas. Reason why? Because this filter is like your nose. If you have a cold and your nose stuffy, you cannot breathe. The same thing with the car. Because the car need the air to flow through the engine. So you're gonna have the correct ratio of air and fuel mixed together for the right, so the car can burn clean. So if your air filter is blocked, your car gonna seem to burn more gas because it's not enough air to mix with the fuel. Okay, so you find it will consume more gas just by a clog filter or a black filter. Okay, so you need to change this. Depends on the road you drive. If you drive in the country, you might have to change it more often than someone who's driving in the city or just use the car like temporary to go to work and home. But if you're driving in a dusty area where there's a lot of dust, you're gonna need to change your filter more often. You have two filters. There's a next filter that people just neglect to change or doesn't know they have one. It's a pull-on filter, which is in your car. Most of them is by your glove compartment. Some model have it right in the front there, but most of it is in the glove compartment, and that one need to change because what happens when you have a fresh air vent, when you open that vent, they bring in fresh air in the car, and what you bring in dirt, you bring in dust and all kind of different particle that comes along with the air that you bring in the car. So you need to change that filter too. Maybe every year you can change that. And that could give you sometime a funny smell, especially in summertime when you're gonna use your AC. So I think that's the best time to change the pull-on filter. Okay, all right. So you disconnect the throttle body. You disconnect. You have a vacuum here. Okay, you disconnect that, the electrical connection. Okay. And there's the next vacuum that goes here. You just have to take a screwdriver and pry it up. Alright, you remove it at the side. And there's 6 bolts on this intake. You have 1, 2, 3 at the back, and you have 1, 2, 3 in the front. You remove those bolts, and those are the only bolts you have to remove. And you just lift your intake out. Okay? Take your intake out. There was a lot of dust on that, so when you're doing that, I recommend that you can blow the dust or clean the top of the intake before you start removing the bolt, so you don't want that dust to get into the combustion chamber. Alright, so now you have your plugs in the front here. There's 3 in the front and 3 in the back. So now we're gonna proceed to remove the plug. You have to take out there's a number 10 screw on each of the coil. So this car is an ignition. Use the ignition coil. It's not using the wire. This is we call it direct ignition system. This one. So what I'm going to do, I'm not going to disconnect the electrical connection because sometimes you can get away with taking out the coil without disconnecting the wire. If the wire is long enough, you don't need to disconnect the wire. So I don't know yet. When I get to that point, I'm going to see if I have to disconnect the wire. So I'm going to save myself some trouble to disconnect the wire. Then we're going to see the condition of the plug. Okay, so I'm just going to lift up the coil. And you don't want to pull too much on the wire, so I see that I have some restrictions, so I have no choice. I'm going to remove the electrical connection. There's a white clip on it that you have to pull back, and then so you can get to release it, because it's like a safety so that the wire don't disconnect in vibration or whatever. So it's like a clip to keep it connected, keep it secure on the coil. So you just have to release that clip. So you can press down the connector. You're gonna hear it clip. Most of them clip when you release that clip, and just pull it out. Hear that clip? That's it. So now I can remove the coil. So this is the coil. This is what the ignition coil looks like. Okay. I'm going to be removing the 3 front ones. And for me, I use 2 sockets. Why? Because one socket has a rubber inside. So I use that when I taking out the plug, because I need the plug to come up. But when I'm putting back the plug, sometimes when you tight it, it's socket. Sometimes when you pull the extension out, the socket still remain on the plug. So that way I use the socket without the rubber, so I have no problem to take it out and fight with to get the socket out. Okay, so this is the plug. I'm going to examine the plug. Yeah, see here, what you have here is arcing from your plug. When you see a plug like this with a brown discoloration, I mean this plug needs to change, and you can see the arcing. The arcing is when your spark is coming up. You can see the impression of the brown mark is shooting up. You have some point on the plug, maybe you cannot see there. But you can see some arcing up, that your spark is getting out here. You're not getting the full spark at the tip, the electrode on the plugs. They have some escaping. And with a plug like this, it could give you a misfire. Okay, you can have your check engine on just for a plug like this, and you can tell your number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5, or whichever one is misfire. Or if it senses that all the plugs has a problem, it could give you multiple misfire on the code. So the first thing you're going to be doing in a situation like this is to start by changing your spark plug, and that 99% correct a misfiring problem. If you change the plug, clear the code, and then you still have a misfire, then you have to go back and see the cylinder that is causing that problem. Alright, so that's it. This is a bad plug. This car is going to be consume more gas, because what happened, your fuel is not burning the way it's supposed to burn. So what I do in that situation, when I take one plug out, I replaced it. For me, what I do, I take my finger, I put the tip of the plug, put it in the side of the wall, and try to put it down very gently as possible, because you don't want the plug to drop. Because I'm gonna show you what happens when if you just drop it in the hole like that. You can put it in your socket, but like for me, I don't like to use the socket because it's always stuck in there, you know. So you don't want this to make contact with the tip of the plug here, because what you're gonna have, you're not gonna have a good spark. Okay, you wouldn't have any spark, and then you're gonna have a misfire. So you have to put it gently in the hole if you're doing it the way I'm doing it, or if you put it in your socket. Yeah, see, it's stuck, you don't want to come up, so that's why. Yeah, but if you put it in your socket and you use it the other way, for the reason why I don't use that, to take it out, I use this one, because now you see the socket don't want to come out, it's stuck on the plug. All right. Okay, so now we see a next problem here with this car. What we have here, we have a valve cover gasket is leaking. Okay, because you can see oil on the plug, and when I look down in there, I see oil there. The oil is coming from on top of the valve cover, and it's leaking into the hole of the plug. Okay, so that's the situation they have to change the plug. Well, that's for our next time. And right now, when you take off the intake, you're right here, this is the valve cover right here. So which is the valve cover? The gasket is, which is a gasket between the valve cover and the head of the car. And this is the cover, and the gasket is between the two pieces. The gasket, what it do is seal the oil from coming out or from going in. So you can see there is oil on this plug. So you know that your valve cover needs to change. Alright? That's the sign of it. So what I do now, I take the second plug, I put it in there. Very gently down. I go into the next one. You could tie them at the same time too, because you don't want anything to drop in that hole. You know, you need to keep nuts, screws, anything around there, any objects that you think can go into there. You don't need them to drop in there. Okay, see, all the plugs have the same issue with the arcing out. You can physically see, you know, the spark. You can physically see the impression that the spark leaves on the electrolyte on the plug, the outer coating. All right. Like before, you used to just adjust this plug, but this plug, they come adjusted. So to adjust it, you can adjust it if you, like most people into sports car and stuff like that, they can adjust it with a feeler gauge. You can bring it down, bring it up to what you want for the best spark, or they have a manufacturer can give you a specification. You adjust the spark plug, but you don't need to do that. They all come adjusted, and you don't need to do that. Okay, so you put the plug inside, and what I do now, this socket I use have the rubber inside, so I'm not going to use this anymore, because what happens sometimes when you tight the plug, it stick on the plug, and the socket gonna be always remaining in there, so I don't use that. I use the socket without the rubber inside. So what happened when I tight my plug, okay, my socket is free to come out without keep pulling and you know. So that's the easy way. If you have a problem with your socket is sticking on your plug and you gotta remove the plug and release it, and you know. So the best way is to get two sockets, one without the rubber, one with the rubber. And you tight by hand. Tight all of them by hand. You can run into problem with some cars. Sometimes the plugs, you know, have been changed a long time, and they give you a hard time to come out. And if you find a plug is not coming, you want to remove, you can soak it, leave it a couple of days, whatever. But it's not a good idea to like force the plug because you don't want it to snap. Because for me, I had a plug that snapped with me one time. That the part that the socket grabs on just ring right out. So now you create your own problem. So unfortunately, I use a top, and I did not use a drill. I use a top because the electrode in here comes out clean. Comes out, everything inside here comes out. The thread stays in with the piece at the bottom here. And I put a special top to get it out. Okay, so now I'll be tightening back this spark plug. Okay, you want to tighten them. You can go with the manufacturer specification and look it up and see what pound if you have a torque, but I use my own torque. I feel it, you know. Okay, so you put back your coil. Push in your connection, and then you have the second, and it's clipped, then you put in the other protector that prevent your connection from coming loose. Okay, it's a backup. And you put back your screws. Take your number 10 socket, you tighten this down. Okay, then I'm going to be working on the back. And I'm going to work to take out the 3 plugs in the back now. I finished the front one, so I have the intake is exposed. There's 3 and 3/6 holder. Okay, so what I do, I take a rag and I put it over the hole. I don't want anything to drop inside, dust or anything to get in there, my socket or something that falls in there. I don't want that to happen. I'm doing the same procedure. I'm going to be taking out the 3 number 10 screw. I'm gonna try to see if we can get it out. No, so we have to disconnect. This is a clip that holds it there for security. This comes right off, so we have to clip that back after. I take out the coil, same as the front one. Alright, so second coil. Third coil. That's it. We're gonna look for the one with the rubber inside. I proceed to take out the plug again. Now, the same brown spot you can see on all of the plugs. Put the plug back in the hole, put it down gently. See, this one I see oil in it. See, I have oil in my gloves there, oil around the plug, so that means the valve cover gasket in the back is leaking too. Alright, so we have the front one and the back one, so both need to be changed. So I will have to inform the customer about that. Put it down gently. Alright, take out the third one. Look at this one, really brown. You can see the condition of it. This is the brownness I'm talking about. See, this is the new one. You see how clean it is? When you start to get like this, now there's a problem. Now I change my socket. Okay. A job like this should be like about less than 2 hours, I think, to fix it. Yeah, 2 hours. If you someone who work on this car every day should be less than 2 hours. But someone who is not doing this every day, no. For the intake, it's very simple to remove the intake. Only 6 screws, and the intake is out. There's no other bracket or anything that holds your intake, so you don't have to worry about, like some car, they have a bracket in the back to support the intake, just to give it more strength, and sometimes those bolts are very hard to reach because they are way back of the engine. But with this one, I was surprised it was so simple. Now we put back our coil.